Hello everyone, welcome back to another match brought to you by Rakgoska. In the first Rakgoska Open round of 64, we've got Gotne spawning as the blue Terran in the northern position. There he is. And we've got the yellow Protoss player, sDsTash, or as we're going to call him in this match, Tash, spawning as the yellow Protoss here in the southern position. The map is Shattered Temple, and we will get this game underway. Big shout out to all my subscribers. You guys are awesome. Keep up the good work. Keep plugging me to your friends. Let them know about how these casts are going. And as always, check out these games. If you have any comments about how I'm casting, just let me know. I really like to improve upon my casting ability. Get better. You can always get better. But yeah, definitely let me know. I'm trying to focus more. A lot of people are saying that I don't, focus a lot on the battles enough, and I focus more on the macro aspect of the game, which, in my opinion, is always more important than the micro. But to you fans and viewers, I guess you really just love seeing those armies butt heads into each other. And hey, gotta give the fans what they want, man. If you want to see those armies butt heads, I'm going to be showing you more of that as much as possible. Watching the minimap, checking out these movements of these units, following them around, using my handy dandy hotkeys to kind of follow the units, see what they're doing. So I'm definitely going to be trying to give you guys more action here, and we will get this game underway. Barracks is now underway. Probe doing its usual thing. Hey, I'm going to harass an SCV trying to build a building. I mean, come on. That SCV hasn't done anything to you. He just wants to build his barracks in peace. Why you got to mess with him, Probe? Almost getting a nice surround on that Probe. Not quite able to get a nice contain on the Probe, but he is managing to get in here, scouting the base, and sees minerals. Usually as Protoss, when you see a no gas from a Terran player, you see the one barracks and you see this wall here. He's either waiting to kill the Probe before he decides to go down his tech path, or he's going to be throwing down an expansion right away. So we will get this pesky Probe out of here and see what the Terran decides to do. Meanwhile, the Terran's SCV is in the base, setting a nice little patrol path around the base. By doing this, he keeps his probe or his SCV constantly moving on shorter distances, so the SCV is not going to stop as often. So it's going to be a harder time for the probe to actually catch up. And he's just going to continue to keep running around in a big... Oop, now he decides to break that patrol path and get in some good sneaky scouting information, which is a great idea. I mean, you can basically keep this SCV alive as long as there's not a stalker in play. And since the Cyber Core just finished and he saw that this was working on a unit, he could be there even longer, but he decides to pull that SCV out. Not worth losing macro time. Does spot both of these gases up here. Decent amount of chrono boost, so he knows that there's not anything super sneaky coming up, and he does see that that second gateway did get thrown down. Meanwhile, this probe did manage to get taken out by our hero Marine right here, and there we go. Expansion is on the way, as well as throwing down 2 more Raxes. So we've got our Terran player who has a pretty good idea of what's going on in the Protoss base, and the Protoss player having a general idea that we're seeing some kind of gasless build from our Terran player, which I would have put my money on a fast expand, and that's what he did. Although, I do have to say, always throwing your money on that fast expand, not necessarily going to pay off. I did that in my game, which I'm kind of embarrassed. I don't even really want to cast it, but it's just one of those things you got to do. You got to get your games out there. You got to cast them, and you guys can all have fun making fun of me, watching me lose to a 2-Rax pressure as in a TVT, which was very interesting. I spotted the 1 Rax. I spotted no gas. I was like, oh, he's going run Rax expand. He proxied a barracks. I lost. It was bad. But anyway, on to a different game. Our Terran player is now getting his gases up, so we will see some kind of factory transition here, more than likely, or just seeing some kind of tech for his bio units, getting a barracks thrown down out at that expansion, which means that this command center will be flying down momentarily as soon as he realizes that it is safe to do so. Robo Bay and the 3rd gateway is en route for the Protoss player, getting those essential sentries out, Guardian shields and force fields to help split up that Terran army and do the maximum amount of damage as possible. And it looks like both players are just kind of getting their bases established. No real early pressure from either player yet. Typically in a Protoss versus Terran, that initial Stalker and Zealot push that you can do is actually quite devastating. You basically When your Stalker's about halfway finished, you start your Zealot towards your opponent's base. The Stalker will eventually catch up. And a lot of times, from what I've heard from Protoss players, is you can actually get into the Terran base and do quite a bit of damage, as they have a very low Marine count usually at that time. Really definitely exposes a lot of those tech-oriented builds that the Terran players have. Meanwhile, we do have, an Immortal on the way. Nice. Choosing to go for the Immortal instead of the Observer, which is a very interesting maneuver. Meanwhile, SCV is on its way into the base to spot a high sentry count. Nice. Usually indicative of a Protoss expansion heading up. Those sentries provide good defense, and later on, when they have enough energy, can provide a good offensive front as well. Terran is now getting his factory up. More than likely, we're going to be seeing that used to get add-ons for the starport, and he's got his engineering bay up as well to use this front missile turret, which is always a good idea against Protoss. You want to get a couple missile turrets here and there just to protect against those nasty Dark Templar, which I've had fun using every once in a while, just warping in a couple Dark Templars and getting some good damage done with them. Forces the Terran to build Ravens, use scans, things like that. Just keeping his money or his energy on his command center focused on other things. We do have a second Immortal now on the way. Those Immortals do massive amounts of damage. So you got 50 damage to armor, 20 damage to everything else, and they have a pretty decent fire rate at 1.45. The range of 5 is a little lacking, but good tank unit to keep in the front. Can absorb a lot of those Marauder hits, and if there's any tanks out, can actually absorb a lot of that tank fire as well. So definitely a good meaty unit to have up in the front. And if your Terran does decide to go Marauder heavy, those Immortals will be able to clean that up quite well. Sending this one Hero Marine out. Definitely don't want to be this guy. He definitely drew the short straw, being the guy that they go, hey, go scout out and see what you can find out. And he's like, really, do I have to? Our Terran player Gotne is doing a very good job of clearing out his rocks, planning on taking a third base, looking to go for a more macro-oriented play. Protoss player is now moving out to his natural expansion, and it looks like he's getting ready to take his natural as well. But the Terran player being on 2 bases for a lot longer, as you can see, 39 SCVs, 231 probes. So he's definitely got the economic advantage right now. Switching back over to production, medevacs are en route. Terran infantry armor level 1, Terran infantry weapons level 1 finished, concussive shell, stim pack, combat shield going, mass upgrades, getting his armory set up as well. So as soon as that +1 finishes, he will be able to transition right into +2, or even possibly get some cool Thors or no, looks like the factory is just kind of chilling idle. Was used to get a reactor. Ooh, and we do have an observer here for our Protoss player, so he is going to be able to get some good sight, unless he flies that observer right into that missile turret. Is he going to be too late? Loses the observer. That's never something you want to have happen. That basically allows the Terran player to do what he's about to do right now and drop your base. And I probably would have gone the other way with the medevacs, hit the main instead of the natural with those medevacs. And here goes that Hero Marine. Oh, dead. Gets an idea that there are a few Zealots in that mix, a few Stalkers, and quite a bit of Immortals. So our Hero Marine did his job. He got some good information, at least on the army composition. And we do now have a push coming from the Protoss player, which could be very devastating with that medevac flying in, especially if he moves out these 3 Stalkers. He's basically going to leave this base undefended, which, I mean, it hasn't started producing results yet, but that could definitely be devastating, having nothing there. Probe is now moving out, going to throw down that forward pylon, move up the rest of the army. There he goes. Yeah, nice placement on that not pylon thingy. No? Maybe? Alright, fair enough. Don't build a pylon. See if I care. Whatever. Adding on 2 more gateways to his base, as well as getting the robotics base so we can get that Colossus tech started. Meanwhile, our Terran player did decide to take his natural expansion, or his third expansion, excuse me, staying 1 base ahead of the Protoss player. Meanwhile, we do have a nice little drop here, getting all those units unloaded and deciding to push in right into that probe line. Gets 1 probe kill, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, so many probe kills. Does he get the Nexus, though? That is going to be the key. No units coming here to stop this. Will the Nexus go down in time? 400, 300, 200, 100, and boom! There goes the Nexus, loading it up into that dropship. Looks like he is going to be throwing that into the main, forcing the Protoss player to split up his army yet again. Immortals being held behind to take care of these Marines, losing all of their hardened shield ability. Maybe these players are secretly trying to work together to get that Immortal achievement where you basically regenerate the health on the Immortal's medevac, getting out of there before it is taken out, and he manages to do so, forcing the Protoss player back in expansion as well as pulling his army back to the center of the base. Whoa, lag! Oh man, dropped down to 1 FPS there. I'm so sorry about that. It looks like we're stabilizing back up in the 30s, so we should be good to go. And Gotne did an amazing job of being able to hold back that army. You know, delayed that army by at least a minute and a half, forcing the Protoss player to have to rebuild his Nexus, which means that's another 400 minerals that's going to be used for the Nexus instead of the army. So the supply is currently 130 to 84, plus 3 weapons, plus 2 shields. Mobius reactor, I believe that's the medevac energy. No. Ghost? No, where is it? Oh. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, it is Ghost Energy. Interesting. That's Ghost Academy. There it is. Mobius reactor. I found it. Oop, here comes the battle. Let's get this pesky UI out of the way. Ooh, those Immortals in front, able to take out one of the bunkers. Stalkers here getting taken down. This army is just too much for this Protoss force. I believe the Protoss player is just sitting on the 1 armor upgrade. Terran player is almost on his plus 3, is able to clean it up quite well. 133 to 29 supply currently. Is that bunker going to get burned down? Decides to salvage it and repair it? Okay. That's an expensive bunker. Decided to repair it before salvaging it. Maybe he just wanted to make sure it stayed alive before it did disappear. And that attack from our Protoss player did not do the necessary damage. 2 bio units versus 1-0, or actually 0-1 ground infantry or ground units from our Protoss player. So he definitely was behind upgraded wise. I probably would have gotten an idea of that army composition, realized that it had out-upgraded me, and decided to get maybe a better unit composition. Is going to go down here and take out this pylon. 2 Vikings here in the mix, just in case we do see some of those pesky Colossi. And it looks like our Protoss player didn't decide to put that base back up. Looks like he is going to retreat back down to 1 base technology. Hasn't even really gotten his robotics bay any use out of it yet. Hasn't even started Colossus or the range yet. Lots of idle probes. It looks like he's just kind of on the back foot. Doesn't really know how he wants to transition out of this. Supply is currently 180 to 48, and our Terran player is now taking the gold base, so his economy is going to zoom quite far ahead this game. Here comes the Terran ball deciding to move out. Here we've got several Marauders, several Marines, a couple of Ghosts even in that mix. Let's see if we can. There's a Ghost right there. Nice little unit composition there. Gets a nice little scan off. Realizes what kind of opposition he's faced against, and decides that it's very easy for him to take out. A couple of nicely well-placed EMPs. Takes out all those Protoss energy units. Takes out those pylons and decides that screw it. He's going to go right into the main, and we've got a tap out from Tash. So looks like here we've got Gotne or Gotne. Please let me know how you pronounce your name, because that would be cool and I don't put my foot in my mouth and mispronounce it. Looks like we have him advancing to the round of 32, and sDsTash is now eliminated. Please stay tuned for the remainder of the games, and as always, have a good night.